Welcome to the Reality After Show covering MTV's The Challenge Season 39, a battle for a new champion. I would like to say we're past the halfway point now, hopefully. We never know with The Challenge these days, but I am your host, Alex Trias, always joined by my ride or die that I would never talk behind his back saying he is dead weight. It's Dan Montchal. Dan, how are you?
Doing pretty good. Just another unfit ending.
Unfit? I don't know. They looked pretty in shape to me.
No, yeah, unfit, not the right word. Let's say disappointing.
Are you disappointed because Laurel didn't win, or what? What's up? What's leaving you feeling empty inside?
This is just the second week in a row where you're bringing out physical competitors and you're not giving them the physical eliminations, which I get. You know, you can get, there are plenty of eliminations down there that don't have to be physical. They can be endurance-based, puzzle-based, you know, more carnival games. But TJ's whole thing of, to beat the best, you got to beat the best. Well, then give us the best in what they're actually good at. Or at least if you're going to bring, a lot of them are old school vets in, give us old school eliminations.
Yes. Essentially, I never listened to the little videos that they've been posting of Darrell and Cara, watching back the eliminations. But I was watching back the one this past week with them reviewing Darrell's, and you could just tell Darrell was just he was annoyed by the fact that this was the elimination that he got, not because he lost. He was it wasn't an easy elimination, but that's not what people are expecting when you have Darrell come walking in. You expect something that's going to be a headbanger, or really endurance in a head-to-head sense, not endurance in a you against the machine. And similarly to Laurel, you look at Laurel's highlight reel, it's balls in. It's those type of athletic, in-your-face competitions, because that's her background. That's what she's most successful in. We just watched her lose a puzzle elimination last season. This isn't, not saying that she's not good at puzzles, but that's not what we are looking for when you are saying we're bringing the champs in. You're really going to be proving your mettle by going against and beating these people. Because it's like Devin beating Bananas in a Light Bright challenge. Is it a little sad that Bananas lost in a Light Bright challenge? Sure. But is that the type of challenge you watch someone win, you're like, oh my God, Devin's legit now?
Yeah, I think they could have done a few different things. One could have been, this is really taking it back to an old school of just having old school eliminations and doing a wheel. So it's hey, you're going to get something like this. Or you have all of these legendary people coming back and Kaz, but give us.
Hey, she's only one. She's only one season.
It's no shade at Kaz. It's just, they needed 5 female champs, and for who was available, who they're willing to call back, they only had so many options in the female slot. But I think it's really give us the elimination that they iconically won, or something really think about giving, Jordan comes out. Sure, Jordan is an endurance beast. Give us his sledgehammer elimination. He's won it twice. Laurel, you're saying with balls in. You could do that even with Darrell. We still have Cara coming. We don't know what that elimination is going to be. Give her a pole wrestle, because she's won that several times. And think about it. What's the most talked about challenge moment of all time? By a lot of people, it's the Bananas backpack. So with CT coming out, give him that same elimination. I think they really missed an opportunity by giving us these vets and these legends. Give us the elimination that made them this famous. And that's really, if you're going to beat the best, you're going to beat them at something that, and we've all seen them do at least once, if not multiple times.
Right, because if we walk through essentially the last essentially the last 4 to 5 eliminations, they've all been more endurance, but not against the other person, memory / puzzle. Tori's was an underwater puzzle. Devin's was counting stuff. Kaz was after you rolled around, you did a puzzle. Darrell's is a endurance comp, but semi a mental game of figuring out the rhythm of the machine and the mechanism so that you can accurately hit the flamethrower. And then this one was pulling a lot of chains, running back and forth, but it was, can you memorize colors? And all of these are also, in terms of like a viewing, while they may be very tough eliminations, and I'm not taking away that in terms of the difficulty of the eliminations, the viewability of these eliminations are very hard for audiences to follow. Like this elimination tonight, 10 sequences, 100 colors essentially. It was like a 10 by 10 grid.
Mm-hmm.
It may have been not 10 by 10, but it was at least 10 sequences of at least 8 colors. We can't follow that. The chains are in the sand. We can only see a few colors at a time. We don't understand how you're depicting what's left to right, right to left, whatever. You can't follow along. You can't follow along an underwater puzzle. You can't follow along counting stuff, really. Like,
No.
It's just watching people go back and forth and constantly saying check, 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 check. Outside of Kylan's and Big T's eliminations. So, yeah, like we've had one physical elimination the last 6 since we've had like the chance to come in. It was Jordan's and it was Casey with the pole wrestle. So, what I don't know what they're aiming for here and trying to skew less physical elimination, but it's not. I'm not even mad about puzzles. I just want more balance. There's been way more mental, and it's almost as if they're trying desperately to protect the people still in the game and give them a real fighting chance on surviving these eliminations,
which
for whatever they have planned in the 3rd stage.
Yeah, and it makes no sense because if we really are, and we, like you mentioned and you joked about it, halfway through the game, but if we're really, roughly halfway through the game, we have way too many people. We know we only have 3 more champ eliminations left. We have Kara, Brad, and CT. And so if we're not losing 3, let's say that, 1, 2, or maybe even 3 people still survive based upon what the elimination is, we're going into stage 3 with what? 14, 15, 16 people left in the game, so that you're going to bring these champs in and use this wasted opportunity and then start doing double eliminations, purges. Like, I just don't get it.
Well, it's also, you have this weird thing of balance. Like we had a couple weeks ago, the daily where everyone was in pairs except for the pair of 3 because they didn't plan for Big T winning her elimination, most likely. And then we have the daily tonight where it was even 4-4-4-4. And this had to be planned ahead because it was a night competition for immediately after the Kylan's elimination. So it was, to me, just like, obviously, the challenge isn't fair. They don't give a shit, as any show doesn't. But it almost as if they planned for Darrell to lose against whoever he was going to be facing against so that they could still do these pairs. Because were you going to do a 4-4-4-3? Were you going to do a 5-5-5 or 5-5-5 and somehow add another dish to like the overall daily? Because there was only 4 per group. Like, I don't know. It gets my wheels spinning a little bit when you see just like how things are run.
Yeah, and I guess we're spending a lot of time with the elimination now. But for me, like, you're bringing in Laurel. I don't know. I didn't like it. Like, we had the storyline right there for her calling out Michelle. And I think with Laurel coming back, is she's a legend of the challengers, but she isn't that legend as someone like a Bananas, a Kara, a CT that is
she hasn't done it as much.
Yeah. So you only get her so many times. So if you're only bringing her back, give us one of her bread and butters, because one of the stats that I saw that was great that shows, I guess, how dominant she is. So if you are newer to fandom of the challenge, like you're on the newer, Laurel's someone that we saw her last season, and then prior to that is World of Worlds 2. And
Yep.
that's the only 2 seasons that we've seen her in the 30s. And I feel like people forget how dominant she is. Because if you were just to say,
who were some of the best challengers? I think I know the tweet that you're referencing. So it's like when you think of the 20s, where like Laurel was more prominent in, you had Cara Maria, you have Camilla, like you have Sarah Rice, like you have these people
yes,
that are deemed like upper tier to top tier
like top
challenge
10.
performers,
Mhm.
like challenge / eliminations, given what the eliminations are. And they have great elimination records, all 3 of them.
Yeah, I think it was that tweet that, so if you just took Cara, Camilla, and Sarah Rice, their elimination record against people not named Laurel, 27-7.
Oh, I
Awesome,
got it.
awesome, yeah, awesome elimination record. If you take their elimination against Laurel, I believe it's 1-6, 1-5.
1-5 against Laurel in elimination.
And so it's just, I don't know. It just kind of, it rubbed me the wrong way. And I know Laurel even mentioned it. She put it out in a tweet saying like, oh, like if you think the game's rigged for certain people, she came in saying, this is the elimination I want, and this is who I want to go against. We didn't get it, which is fine. We shouldn't always get what we want, or, the challengers shouldn't always get what they want. But you had the storyline and the elimination there. And even if it's the same elimination and she gets her wish and calls Montchal down, there's a solid chance that Montchal still wins.
Yeah.
Just because she's good at puzzles, and the way this was, that the house could help them.
That whole house would have been, essentially the whole house would have been helping her.
But then that way you still get, that's the outcome we all want. I mean, we had that lead up of Montchal literally shaking in her boots, seeing Laurel come out.
To be fair,
give us that moment.
To be fair, to anyone who's like making fun of Montchal for being scared, have y'all seen Laurel with a Vendetta? Like, you should be scared.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
You should be. Even if the elimination involves you not touching at all, it's still terrifying because it's Laurel. And that's the type of fear she instills in people.
Agreed. I don't know. I guess it's just, we'll see how the last 3 pan out, but it's just been disappointing with the eliminations they picked, like you said, because they're so hard to follow, which is unfortunate because, even going against what I suggested, I feel like we still started out with a really good elimination coming back. It was the Jordan versus Kieran elimination. You bring the champ in. That's great. Give us more like that. That was awesome. It was probably the best elimination we've seen all season. Give us more stuff like that.
Yeah, I would argue that was probably like the most, and of course that was the one that had the most controversy before anyone had context. But we won't get back into those can of worms. But what I do like is, whether it's fabricated, real, whatever, petty, we are getting more building with this season for the future, and more potential rivalries, more issues between people going into future seasons potentially. Like, you have this Montchal and Laurel thing brewing, which is why part of me wants to jokingly say there was no chaos option in Laurel's. I think there were 3 Ravens in there, and you were getting Raven regardless. Maybe a Zara. Maybe it was 2 Ravens and a Zara. But they were not letting this rivalry blow off right here. They want both of them on another actual season together for that to be a storyline. I'm just saying that I see that as a rivalry. We see these people having this like weird issue with Olivia for saying things I don't even think are bad, but like they're acting as if she's the most vile person ever because she speaks behind someone's back with a half like handed comment. which is like every single challenger ever does that.
Yeah.
Every person does that ever. I'm sure Dan and I have done it about each other. Well, I've never done it about Dan. I'm sure Dan's done it about me.
Easy. No, I get what you're saying. And if that's production's thought of being like, hey, this is another, kind of step into building a Montchal versus Laurel, some type of rivalry, whether you want to put them as a pair or just to have it be a setup for a future season. I get that. And that makes sense. But it's been one of our comments, not just about the challenge, but we think about, the other show that we cover very well, which is Survivor, is it's very much more kumbaya. And it seems like, especially in the challenge, that isn't necessarily the case. There are the other pockets of drama and things that are happening. And that's what the challenge is built off of. It's built off of all this drama. So why aren't we seeing any of it?
Well, not only that, I'm calling out the fandom here, specifically the online fandom. Y'all can't have both things. I went through Twitter after the episode, and I see half the tweets are people complaining that it's boring and everyone's just doing what the big alliance wants. And then the other half is getting mad over people making passive aggressive comments towards each other. I'm like, you can't have both things. Like, you're bashing on Olivia because she's saying, I guess you could say, a not nice thing about Horacio by saying he's not contributing, which is true.
Yeah.
Doing his own thing instead of like having her back, which is true. She said that it was a slow burn between him and Nerys, which is accurate. Like, you have all these things that aren't her being mean. It's just her like calling it how it is. And the fandom's just jumping down her fucking throat, saying she's the worst, snakiest person ever. I'm like, isn't that what you want? Isn't that what you are asking for? You want these people to be snakes and mean to each other and create rivalries and have like legitimate beef, whether it's petty or not, with each other? Like, you should be happy that this is what's going on.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And I don't know. I want to see more of the drama back. It's part of the reason why, everyone who is a fan and has been a fan for years loves the show. Just give us more of that. And if this season is simply, okay, not only are we creating this, finally someone's going to be a new champion, it's not going to be the same vets, that's fine. But if the secondary, I guess, win for the fandom and everyone who loves the show is that this is going to create a lot more drama in future seasons, then that's great. And the season is serving its purpose. I would just like to see more of it play out on our screen and not reading about it, in tweets and podcast interviews and things like that afterwards. I want to see it actually happen on the screen.
I agree. Okay, let's go back to the top now. We talked about our elimination. Congrats to Raven on another win. She's 2 for 2 in elimination now. Sort of living up to the hype, which is a big talk of this episode, is her and Zara being seen as later on in the game and final threats mainly by the women, but Zara also by the men. So they just finished the challenge. They're getting ready to start their next their next daily. And I thought it was funny that they all take a break to eat right before the daily, because I'm like, oh boy, we knew what this challenge was going to be, and I think you wanted an empty stomach.
Empty stomach, or at least not a full meal. Like, maybe a little snack in there, a little filler, but not. You did not want to go into this on a full stomach.
But what I do like is we're now starting to see this new divide starting to build. Like, you have, because we focus on Kyland and Horacio there, and they're like, we are happy that everyone's tired. We think this is a good opportunity for us to get a win and potentially try to shake up the game a little bit. Then we keep getting this narrative from Berna of feeling not safe because of how Montchal treated her. And then you cue back to Berna just yelling at Montchal for really her own insecurities and jealousy of Montchal talking to other people. Berna, it continues to be this enigma for me. Like, I remember earlier in the season, I was sympathetic to her. I'm like, I want to see her do well. Then there's times now where I'm like, God, could she, like, it goes against what I'm asking for out of the show, but like, can she just like be put down in elimination, taken out? Like, I don't know what I want anymore with her.
She can't get out of her own way. And it's really weird because I completely agree. You have these moments where you feel sympathetic for her, but then she has all these moments where it's just like, Berna, what are you doing? Because, just skipping ahead a little, that you have the scene where, Berna's this cock block. And once again, she's going at Raven, being like, he has a girlfriend and all of this. But it's
Yeah.
like, Berna, you're missing the point. This is
Or
a
go to
manual.
Emmanuel and be like, Emmanuel, you have a girlfriend.
Not, you should stay away from him because he has a girlfriend. This is your fault. Like, who's the problem here? It's not the
Right.
women.
Like, sure. Should, like, it's similar to the James situation. It's like, should they not pursue someone who's actively in a relationship of some kind? Sure. But it's more so on the person in the relationship to create those boundaries and show it to everyone else. Like, no, like, we can be friends, we can be friendly, but there is a line that we won't cross because I do have a relationship outside of the house.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's Emmanuel's fault, especially because he already has been called out about this and is still continuing to do it. We know after the fact on his social media, it's like it was a relationship he didn't want to be in, blah blah blah. You were still in it.
Mm-hmm.
You could, it could be, even though it's not like the fun way to do it. There's no issue if you just calling her on the stupid tablets that they have and breaking up, and then be like, okay, I'm single now.
Yeah, it's a weird situation, but yeah, it goes. There's so many of these different aspects to this Berna dynamic that's in the house, and I don't know.
It's so interesting because it's just like she's putting all of this on Michelle, but like when you hear everyone else's confessionals, it's literally Michelle for why she is staying in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she isn't realizing that Michelle really has gone to bat for her and has protected her. Because if Michelle isn't in this house, Berna is in the same situation as a Melissa and a Big T.
Yeah, because like, sure, does Emmanuel have sway with some people in this game? Absolutely. Like, we see him, he's playing the middle. He's like playing to placate everybody. That's his game. It's just being non-committal, but being friends to everyone. And he wouldn't have wanted Berna to go in. But you even saw like later on in one of the confessionals, like I won't do it, but there are more reasons why people want to go after Berna. But I will vote for Zara. Like, and without Michelle there, like, I don't know if Olivia and Nerys and like stick to the plan, and maybe they do get upset and just go like, okay, we're just gonna put Berna in because fuck her.
Yeah, I just don't think she realizes how well she has been protected by Michelle, that she can be upset that they're not, as close to friends in the house this season as what they were in Spies, Lies, and Allies. But she still isn't seeing how much she's been protected by that relationship. And so that's where I really start to lose sympathy for her, because sure, it isn't her perfect situation. It's not what she wants. But the alternative, Berna, is I don't think she realizes that this is the best course of action for her, because all the alternatives are her being targeted more, the girls being more directly at her, which is going to bring out more of this insecurities, and you're going to see more of the blow up and just unstable version of Berna.
Without Michelle and Emmanuel leading the charge to protect her, she would have been down there just as much, if not as often, as Big T and Melissa.
Mm-hmm.
She would be below Colleen, should be below Raven, below Zara, like should be below all these people. Like, hell, she could have been below Jessica.
Forgot she was on the season.
Exactly. So we go to the daily. and they're in a graveyard, which apparently Olivia was asked to go on a date on. Thankfully, she did not go because she would not be here today if she went.
But
As we all know,
but we know she was kind of into Emmanuel, which is like,
it is
no,
his
if
grandma's
Emmanuel,
house.
yeah,
It's his grandma's house.
if Emmanuel ever asked you on a date, I don't think it would be that different from what this challenge was. Maybe not the gross eating stuff. The graveyard aspect is still there somewhere.
No, you wouldn't start the graveyard. You would start at the abandoned church. That's like decaying, broken wood panels everywhere. You have to start there because it's what he does. It's what he does. But this is they've been liking to do these like night challenges. They did it on Challenge USA. They did it on season 38, except without the water this time. So there's 4 locked dinner boxes. You're in 4 groups of 4. In order to unlock those boxes, you have to run out, do your, I guess everyone had separate assigned trivia questions regarding champions or championships. If you got the right answer, you had a lighter box with one of the numbers for the combination. If you got it wrong, you had a heavier box that you had to lug over. I think there should have been more punishment. I think it should have been wrong, heavier, and wrong number. So you would have to go back. Like you still have to carry it. You have the wrong one. You have to go back and then grab the light one.
I think you could have done that, or you could have done what we kind of seen. It's been more in like you see it more in the finals. But if you're wrong, this is an eating, drinking challenge, that there's something gross that someone has to eat or drink as punishment. Not the entire team, but just say someone on your team has to, drink the spicy drink. Like maybe it's half of what the full glass is or something like that to make a more punishment. And the other thing I think they could have done on is, I get the whole theme is championship, but we only saw that one question regarding the challenge, which was, who has the most wins.
Yeah.
But I think in a season like this, make almost all of the questions former challenge based, because then what do you also have? You get to do all these callbacks and little clips to these great moments that you have that you're trying to promote. I just think it was a missed opportunity there. We could have seen more challenge related questions about championships.
No, and I agree. Like, didn't we already do a trivia challenge also earlier this season? Or is everything starting to bleed together as one?
It's all bleeding together.
Okay.
I
thought
think,
we potentially
I don't know.
did one.
I don't
regardless,
think so, but yeah,
regardless,
we may have.
Regardless, I don't know. I would have saved some of this random trivia for actual trivia, but you have some silly questions like who has the most Instagram followers, Kylie Jenner or Cristiano Ronaldo. You have WWE Championship, which I'm sure Johnny loves seeing. The champions are most rings, which Kylan, you don't even need to be a historian of the challenge to know that it's bananas and not CT. Even though you will be surprised how many people guess it's CT, and guess it wrong in real life, not in this game.
Yeah.
But so the main points we see here is that the team of Raven, Olivia, Asaf, and Jay get multiple of them wrong. I saw online, like, from Jay was, like, trying to blame Raven for getting the questions wrong, but Raven was saying that, like, Jay was the one who every, like, 10 seconds would have to stop because his ankles were hurting. Olivia, I think, hurt her wrist during it as well. Like, I don't know. It felt like they were trying to bury Raven here, but partially in just terms of being a fan of, because I am a fan of Raven, and I think she's perfect for the challenge because she's messy, but like a good competitor at the same time, is she still doesn't get it at this point. Because like you have these people talking about like who they want to target. Because like Mariah's like, I just want to win to keep me and James safe and also show everyone who put James in like, hey, I can win shit. And I'm sort of pissed off. So I will go for you and the people that you're trying to hold as your other plus ones. But like they want to go for Berna. Like, Raven's saying, I want to go after Berna and Zara, who within the same episode, she then calls Zara her number one. Like, you have these people, and then you have on the other side of the coin, these people going like, well, I want to go after Raven. The only one that made sense to me was the people who were saying they want to go after Zara because non-day alliance and also big threat. She's winning a lot. Like she says in the episode, like she's won the most dailies. She's been on the winning team for the most dailies this season. Going after Horacio because like everyone got to watch how Horacio competed last season. You got to see how he was competing in the final. Like he was doing a very good job. Potentially, if Olivia doesn't get hurt, we could have been calling. They may have not been on the season. Olivia and Horacio could have won the season.
And especially with Horacio, that you saw how well he did last season, that he kept winning these eliminations. That if you're going to get Horacio out of the house, it's probably not going to be done in one shot. It's most likely going to take multiple eliminations for him going down to slip up and lose. Not that he couldn't lose the first one, but I'd say on a lot of these eliminations, he's probably the favorite to win. So if you're going to get him out, the only way to really secure that is to keep throwing him down. And if you're going to keep throwing him down, you almost need to start doing that now. Because if you keep letting him alone, like, oh, we're not going to do it till we get down to 12 people, you may not be able to get rid of them.
Right. And, like later after Daily, you have Ed talking about how, including himself, he includes himself in it, that everyone is playing a safe game right now. So, like, the riskiest move you can do is going after the stronger people of who the big group is considering the outsiders that have final threats. So, Zara, Raven, Horacio. But, like, you have all these people talking about, like, I want to take shots, but, like, their shot against the big group is, we're going to go after Berna. Like, take that next step. Take that next step. Like, you have seen that Berna's not a threat for, like, the end. Like, she at this point in time, will get in her own head. Will get hurt, think she's hurt, slow down, whatever. Like, Horacio wanting to go after Berna because she's weaker is not, like, the wrong path, but to, like, semi the right conclusion because it at least isn't Zara because he's just, like, I have a good working relationship with Zara. Zara is someone I can work with and win with. So, like, you have that side of it. But anyway, they are going for the challenge. Ed is now the Casey of the season, who gets the coming out commercial, rehash what the challenge is. It's primarily been him. I've been Corey a couple times. But Corey at least has other parts of him and being within the game and strategizing and being a little manipulative demon, which I love. But we get our puke montage. A lot of puking. Montchal in straight exorcism.
Yeah, you need that apparently.
So does Johnny Bananas win this one or what?
Hey, fair play.
What's up?
Yeah.
Me and Matt Bischoff just finished doing the penultimate episode of Australian Survivor, Brains versus Brawn, and I was exiting StreamYard and I saw that you guys were live. I just wanted to say hello and I'm so invested in the season of the challenge. I really think this is either Bananas or Wes's to win.
Oh, yep,
100%.
Yep, they're doing great. They're doing great, Johnny. They're back and forth, always winning, putting all the losers into elimination. It's great.
All right. Well, I've done my part.
And Latarian has been in every elimination doing plunging people into the center of the earth.
Oh, okay, great. All right. Well, I see that. I've missed nothing. Keep up the good work. Amazing coverage as always. And hey, Michelle Fitzgerald, that's my friend. You guys stop saying mean things. I'm not talking to you, but you know. Who
I made this comment too. Like, be nice to Michelle.
Yeah, be nice to Michelle. She's good. Yeah. And I get it. The face of your franchise is from Survivor. Sorry, folks. Okay. Bye, guys.
That's it.
You never know what will happen here. We'll get a run in from Fair Play whenever, but also great opportunity to plug the Patreon. Go to realitypatron.com, become a patron, even for just 1 month. Try it out. We have Australian Survivor coverage of Matt going and watching for the first time. They're finishing up Reigns vs. Braun. We have a weekly Q&A. It's a very lax, very fun podcast, just like talking to shit, talking about whatever's going on in Johnny and Matt's lives. Become a patron. It's a great opportunity. Try for 1 month. If you don't like it, Johnny will give you your money back. We do not keep hostages here, unlike the challenge. But anyway, so we have our puke montage. We have our 4 things of the pig ear and snout, brain soup, spicy surprise, which we learned is basically just like olive oil and spices.
That's so disgusting.
Well, I'm assuming olive oil. They just said oil.
Yeah.
And then a skin / colon stew. Was not. I should have expected this, but didn't. James, good at eating comps.
Well, it's been a while since we've seen him do something really well other than just lift heavy shit. So, good on James.
Well, we did learn that he was able to get the trivia question right because he does know everything. Honestly, honestly, I think I'm finally getting around to his humor because I did laugh when he said it.
Agreed. And I think James is doing a good role here because we see from his personality, James I don't think has the ability to be a lead or a main character, but just give us these little side moments that it doesn't have to be every episode, but a James moment every other episode, even if it's small, just like this. Okay, perfect. James is there. Little funny moment. Let's keep it moving.
And this is going to be a little bit of pull because a lot of people are going to say who when I say this, and you might say who when I say this. I saw one season and have in one room James and Kim.
From Kim Ride or Dies?
Yeah. Because Kim was also, like, in his free time, he had fun quips in his confessionals. Just put both of them into the confessional booth together, let them make a couple quips, and call it a day. I feel like their humor would align.
I think it would align, or it's either that, but they have to do the challenge like tag team style, so we don't get both of them every episode. Like, all right, this is James' episode, so come in, have your little moment. All right, you're still here, as long as you don't get eliminated. Kim comes in for the next episode, and that way you really get to see them highlighted and not just, oh yeah, that's right, they're on this season.
But so James starts motivating the rest of his team by just essentially berating them into just be like, dude, how bad do you want it? Just put it down. Like, we see Colleen literally like open up and just somehow manage to get 2/3 of the drink in. The other third was on her shirt. But she did get it down. Corey got his stuff down. Mariah finishes up. Which apparently, like, from her words on Twitter, like, I think she got the brunt end of it. It sounded like that pig snout and ear was the worst thing you could eat.
Wasn't great, yeah.
But James, Colleen, Corey, and Mariah win, which is like great for like 3 of the 4 people because like Corey's back and being in a good spot. But James, Colleen, Mariah's on shaky water, hasn't had her name said yet, but like knows her name's out there. Colleen's been voted in. James has been voted in twice. It's inevitability. So like in order to remove 3 of those pieces from the board is crucial for them. But we do learn it is a women's elimination. And TJ makes a point here again, which goes back to my theory of like they want as many people past the champions as possible because he makes it very clear, like, your decision is about protecting your money.
Yeah, which I guess does make sense, but whatever. We don't need to get into it again of just having all these people skate by the champions, but I guess that does make sense. But I would assume, and I believe he even said in episode 1, that they do have ways of earning some money once you get into stage 3. So I don't know.
I don't think they should. I think they should continue to lose money.
Agreed.
I think even when they win an elimination, they should lose money.
I mean, you could do something of just being like, hey, you protected the money, but guess what? That meant that like Raven went down there. That $10,000 is yours.
I truly feel that the winner of this season should be like, you don't win any money. Your win is you were a champion. You're a hunter.
Hunter.
You're Sarah Rice for her last season. You know, you have the title. You just got your appearance fee.
Well, they'd never do that as much as I do like that idea.
No, just like hold up. You wouldn't say it out front. Like, oh yeah, you can win up to this amount of money, but then you just find more creative ways of continually taking all of that money away.
Mm-hmm. That'd be good.
That would be my goal. So Mariah pitches to put in Berna because like Mariah's still like she's aware, but she's also like, look, I'm just gonna make a statement. You went after my number one guy. I am going to go after her for your number one girl, Michelle, which is Berna. Or the appearance is it would be Berna because she's the tag along to the group. So like, I'm going to hit your tag along. And she wants Berna. But Corey immediately puts that one down because of his relationship with Berna and the other people. Is like, no, I want to put in Raven. Like, me and Raven, like, basically yelled at each other. We didn't get along. Got me in hot water, where I almost went into elimination. She would do it again to me. I want to do that. Colleen sort of on the same boat, where I don't know what Colleen's thinking right now.
No one does.
I feel like she's just thinking that whoever goes out, it would just ingrain her more within the group. Mm-hmm. And like Raven is an easy name because it's a name that's been said. And then James doesn't care. James doesn't really back up Mariah here. And he just goes, well, both of them have said my name, so I really don't give a fuck. So it's like a 3-1 vote, but like James announces that it's Raven, and Raven just starts popping off. And like Mariah says, like, it was a 3-1 vote. Like, Mariah, you should have a voice. And like, she did have a voice.
Yeah,
it was
voted like she
down.
Just rolled. Yeah, it wasn't like she just rolled over. She did try speaking up.
And to be fair to Mariah, like, she's also won a good amount of times this season, and we always see her actively pitch a name.
Yep.
Like, she doesn't hide away from it. She doesn't wait for group things. She just goes, I think it should be this.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that's the type of person I want. I want someone who's proactive. I want someone who will try even if she fails. But, like, what makes this more bizarre is, like, Raven just starts attacking all of the wrong people. Like, she's attacking Mariah, who tried to save her. She attacks James, who's on the outs. She attacks Corey by saying that Corey's playing both sides, and I wrote in my notes, "Where are the sides?"
Yeah,
like we see a contingent being potentially loosely made at the end of this episode, but even that, Corey's not in that. Mm-mm. So he has one side because there's only one side in this house. She throws Zara under the bus, who is her number one later this episode, of like, but by throwing me in, you're just making your person the easy vote. Who's that person? Well, you tell me. You tell me who it's going to be. But I'm like, counter that. If they had thrown Zara in, which wouldn't have made sense, you would have been the vote, Raven.
Yeah, Raven still would have been the house vote.
So like all this is happening. Raven now realizes she can't trust Corey or Colleen. She sees where they stand. I'm like, you don't yet, but you're trying, and I appreciate that.
At least a little bit of effort.
And then we get a comment from Jay saying like he can't wait because now that Raven was taken away, it's the easy vote. Who is going to be the vote this time? It's going to be, people are going to have to draw lines. And he's so ready to see people have to turn on each other. And I wrote like later on, like, I'm not sure Jay's actually happy with seeing people having to turn on each other now that he's seeing who are the people that are turning.
I know he's definitely not, because he says later in the episode that sure, he's protecting, he's in the larger side, but this secondary group that's forming, they're the ones that are winning. Yeah, they're winning all the dailies.
Right. So like Zara's like trying to like vent to James here of saying that Raven should shouldn't have like thrown her under the bus. She should have just like sort of taken it and been like in like a warrior mentality, which I guess is just Zara's philosophy of this season. It's just
I
be a
guess.
warrior, instead of burning bridges, which apparently wasn't burnt that much because they leave the episode being number ones again.
Sure.
Yeah. But essentially this lays down that it's either going to be Zara or Berna. All of us in the audience are shocked to learn that the two options are Zara and Berna, the two people that are on the outs that aren't safe. I'm shocked. We get date segment with Nerys and Horacio. They're still being cute. They want to know if it's real or game. We know it's real. Moving on. To a conversation between Horacio and Kylan, which did have some controversy over Twitter. So Horacio doesn't want to say Zara. Kylan wants to say Zara initially, which I'm like, Kylan, you just left last episode saying that you needed to like redefine the lines, and your answer is going after the person that everyone else is also after. Like you can't, beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah,
Kylan.
at this point, he just needs numbers. It doesn't matter who they
you
are.
need
He
numbers.
needs
You
Yeah.
need numbers. But Horacio's like, I want to be around great competitors. Like, and I think part of his mindset is with more great competitors, more chances that I can be like partnered up with them.
Mhm.
And then with me
Win
combined
dailies.
with them, we can win dailies, keep us safe. And then the final is a future problem. He's not afraid of competition. He's an athlete. He has an athlete mentality. Go against the best, beat the best. It'll mean more to him, I would assume.
Well, he's been listening to TJ this entire time. If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best.
Yep. And you know, he was also very good friends with Jordan.
He was, which Jordan is probably the poster boy for I'll take on the best. I don't give a shit.
Yes, exactly. But then we have Kylan say that like he makes a comment about Michelle saying to him that she is playing a perfect social game. And he still claims that she said those exact words. But like Michelle backs up more so what we saw on the show, which it like flashed back to her saying that like sort of describing her situation to Kylan, that like she's doing well socially because she has a lot of friendships and connections, which maybe don't say that in front of Kylan if like we learn further through social media that like they never really established a one-on-one relationship within the alliance, which is the bigger issue of this big alliance to begin with. Is you have all these people going, they're in my alliance, but I don't talk anything with them. So it's like, could you hear that with Corey with Horacio during the daily? We heard it last week involving Ed. We like hear it with Kylan. Like you have all these people that are using other people to get confirmation about someone else. Because like Kylan got confirmation from Jay and from Nerys that Michelle was good with him.
Well, I know you're referencing Twitter, and there was one of Michelle's tweets where she actually tagged Kylan saying, like, hey, just so he can back it up, like I never said that. And Kylan did respond saying, no, you did tell me that. To be fair, you may have been drunk, but you did say it several times.
Who's to say? It's a he said, she said. We are being nice to Michelle Fitzgerald in this podcast, Dan.
So who knows? I'm not saying that it's against her. I'm just saying that who knows? I don't think that there was this clear resolution of being like one was necessarily right.
Well, I also don't see Michelle being the person to say that in like a she says it and means it type of way. You know? So like being drunk would make more sense of her like being like, I'm playing the perfect social game.
I could, okay, maybe like her being the perfect social game, but being more, connected with everyone. I could see Michelle trying to placate Kylan and having some type of variation of this conversation with him.
Yeah.
Because you see her that she is well connected. You see, later in the elimination when Laurel's calling her out, being like, we have a lot of the same friends, is that Michelle in a short period of time has done a really good job at connecting herself with a lot of people, which is great for her, but it also can be a double-edged sword that if you're good with everyone, you're not really tight with one or two people, which in the challenge can be a death sentence.
Right. I don't think it is a death sentence for her. Like, there'll be a few people that are looking at her a different way, like going into future seasons. But she, like she says it late in the elimination, she does have a lot of mutual friends. Like, I feel like for one way or another, she will still have protection despite people wanting to come after her.
Agreed. I think she's really calculated because I know what I think it was on, the official challenge pod, the MTV's version, whatever, Mariah was on last week and she was saying that, oh, to like add insult to everything. Apparently there was this song about bananas that the house
Yeah.
made. She said it was either Jay or James, that made it up, that everyone was singing it around the house. She said she didn't sing it. And the only other person who wouldn't sing it was Montchal, which
Who
was
is friends
smart
with
on her.
Bananas.
Because she's friends with Bananas and afraid that, hey, if this ends, I know how Bananas is. I don't want to be on the wrong side of that anymore because I saw what happened when I did that last season. No thanks, coach. I'm good.
Right. But like it's also both ways. Like Montchal is friends with Bananas still. She is also still friends with Mariah. Like both things are true. And it's like that's what makes a good player. It's like despite other people not having relationships with each other or having bad relationships with each other, she is still like this little bridge for people because most people like and love Montchal. There are people like Laurel who need to get their pound of flesh before turning the other cheek. But that's a different thing. Laurel's their own beast.
Yeah. But it also makes sense for the fact of her wanting to get in the good graces of all these vets, because you can see the season that sure, there are all these people. None of them are really that good at the game. They're all pretty bad at the challenge, which is the reason why you bring just a handful of vets on like Challenge USA, and it may start off bad for them, but by the end of it, they're essentially running the game. And so if you're Montchal, hey, I don't want to piss off these vets because I'm trying to build something here. I know that this is the only season that's going to be like this format. So in future seasons, I don't want to be on their shit list again. That's never worked out well for me when I've been on the vet shit list going into a season.
Right. Okay. We have after that though, Asaf mentioning to Emmanuel and Jay that Berna is actually in legitimate trouble. It's not just, oh, people are hearing someone out about it instead of Zara. Like, no, it could be Zara or Berna, and there's some concern there. Mainly just because from Asaf's words, Berna is annoying.
Quick on Asaf, just because I haven't dumped on him this episode. Going back to, the challenge where it was the question of who had the most, what I think it was like Winter Olympic medals. And he was like, oh, I'm a huge fan of this and someone who's trying to be a U.S. citizen. No, thanks. We don't want you, bud. Like you can stay here. That's fine. Not going to turn anyone away. We are very much equal opportunity, but for you, fuck it. Leave, please. We don't want you.
I'm going to leave that be. We have the Anything But Clothes party. Dan, have you ever done Anything But Clothes party?
When I was 19 in college.
Same.
So
it was a fun time.
Longer ago than I'd like to admit. But they can be a lot of fun.
Yep. We finally see Horacio and Nerys kiss. And we also still see Emmanuel flirting with Raven. Which I was like, interesting. After you make a whole big point about Emmanuel needs to stop cheating on his girlfriend, he then goes, nope, back to it.
That's just who he is. He's a douchebag.
Yeah. Then we have a note, Zara asking the Ride or Die girls essentially, should she just be expecting to be put in? And they're like trying to talk around it. And she's like, it's fine. Like, we will still be friends. I will go down. I will win. And you know what? It just becomes a lot easier for me to say other people's names now.
I thought this was extremely well played by Zara because you could see the Ride or Die girls really trying to be like, well, like,
I'm going to do what's best for me.
And it's just with Zara, just simply, she's reading that well going, hey, I get what you're doing. That's fine. I don't take anything against you personally, but you're just making my decisions a lot easier for when I get power, which if you've been paying attention, I will have power very soon in this game because I win dailies, unlike all of you.
Right. And the big issue is like I was gonna make a comment about how like Zara and Raven have been winning a lot. They realize they're on the bottom, but they haven't done anything with it. So it's like sort of hard to feel like sympathy for them. But at the same time, it's like it's not just them having the sole voting power. It's similar to Mariah here. And it's like you have these people now realizing they're on the bottom. Like Zara has realized it, but has been sort of just running with the lines because she felt if I can just blend in with the group, maybe that can change my fate.
Mhm.
Sure. But she realizes she needs to win. Like Raven was still at a point where she still felt like she needed to attach herself to this big group because she's prioritizing this idea of having the numbers, but the numbers haven't been working for you. Like both times now where you have been up to be voted for, essentially, you have been voted for
Yeah.
or sent down.
I'll give Zara a little bit of credit here because I don't know. Maybe it's too much credit, but I'd at least like to say that while we don't see a ton of her, she has done a pretty good job because we see that she has ingratiated herself into the group, which has kept her safe up to this point. And maybe that is a good move for her, being the strong competitor and having the will, the will that she has is, hey, I did what I needed to do. I ingratiated myself in the group through the first half of the game. Now I get it. I'm probably not going to be at the top, but you take that first shot and then I'm going to run with it. And that's going to tell me everything I need to know for the rest of the game. So
Right.
maybe it was smart to keep her, what she did kept her safe to the halfway point. And now she knows, hey, I need to keep winning so that I can start to dictate what happens moving forward.
For sure. For sure. Okay, so we have that. Michelle's getting paranoid that Laurel has to be one of these last few women coming in, which, makes sense. And she knows Laurel will pick her in any situation, so
Accurate.
yeah. Then we have Berna and Manuel. Berna wants to speak her truth. Manuel's like, that's great. I love that you want to speak your truth. However, this is a game about placating people, so maybe don't speak your truth as often. And Berna's like, I can't do that. She's mad that people are seeing her as aggressive when it's not her being aggressive. It's all of their fault for believing that she's aggressive and saying that she is. And look, both things can be true.
Yeah.
You could be annoyed that other people have this perception of you, but part of perceptions is reality, and you have given them enough reality for them to believe that the perception is the truth.
Yeah, I'm just lost at what to say with Berna for now.
And it's just sad because it's also like her now. It's like Emmanuel and Michelle have this like feel like this need to essentially babysit their friend, and like it's very much Camilla being drunk
Mm-hmm.
on a show. It was like Camilla was great until she got drunk. Then she had these same issues, and you would have to try to talk her down, and like they do not want to hear it. They don't want to hear that they are doing anything wrong. They don't want to hear that there are these little things that can change. Like neither of them are asking her to change her personality or change everything about who she is. They're just saying like reel it back in a tiny bit. Like maybe don't go fully aggro on people for very stupid reasons.
Yeah, it's a lack of self-awareness and accountability.
Yeah, essentially. Like they're all still friends with her post the season. So it's like there's obviously qualities of Berna that people enjoy. But we are seeing all of what she's not liking, which is the perception of her being more aggressive and a wild card and a little sporadic with her thoughts and emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Which can get on anyone. Like, even Asaf says that, and Asaf is right. Like in the challenge house, it's a pressure cooker. Like you are going to be at your wit's end, and that's the one positive thing I'll say regarding him. Moving on, Zara confronts Raven, and this is where like they both sort of have this realization where I'm like, Zara's like, Raven's finally realizing that she's on the bottom and she needs to go. Cut to Raven in confessional. Zara's finally realizing that she's on the bottom. and she needs to do something about it. I'm like, Raven, it's you. Zara has known.
Yeah,
It is you.
One of these days, maybe there'll
She
be
will
some
get there. I have
self-realization.
so much faith in Raven because I am a fan of Ravens. And I'm critical of the people that I'm fans of because I want to see them do well. That's just how it is. Now more date drama with Horacio and Nerys because Horacio has other commitments that he's going to have to be doing outside once they're outside of the game, which we all know now it was another show entirely that apparently runs for 8 months.
That's insane.
That can't possibly be true.
He's been there for months. I know.
How do you film for 8 months?
So I do know the concept of the game, and I know when we were talking about it last time, we had a comment in there that was explaining it a little bit more. But what makes no sense to me about this game of what it is, so it's 2 teams, and then if you're like, however they deem like the weaker performing on the team, you could go into like an elimination. But rather than a straight, okay, you're gone, we're cutting it down. Apparently, they just keep bringing more people out and filling the spot until, I don't know, eventually a team wins. I don't know.
Well,
it takes forever. And I guess Horacio was on, maybe a starting team or was there an early replacement. And so he's just been gone for a while because I do know Nerys posted a few weeks ago that she went out to like a kind of family loved one visits and visited him. But he's been gone for several months now and seems like he'll still be gone for a few more months.
Yeah, damn. Here's to them. Because as we all know, this is a weird edit to have because you know that it's working outside. But so they come back together. Nerys is like, I will try. I want to make this work because I do believe it's real. I do believe I love him. And then we get Berna the cock block. Berna doesn't want them to hook up in the room, which partially I get. Like, you're in a bunch of twin beds cramped into a room. You don't want to hear 2 people fucking right next to you or across the room. But
speaking of college,
I mean, there's other rooms, Berna, if you don't want to do that, or you could advertise to them that there's other places that they can go and do their business. And then immediately does the same exact thing to Raven and Emmanuel. But it's not Emmanuel's fault, as you said. It's Raven's fault she's this little temptress. She's a little temptress for Emmanuel to break his word for his relationship. But it can't be Emmanuel's fault. I'm looking out for him because these women are evil.
Emmanuel's a douche.
Yeah, Raven is not the problem here, Berna.
No.
And you know what? Friends can make bad choices. But what makes you a good friend is calling them out for their bad choices.
Nope.
Instead of blaming everyone else.
Yep, protect them at every turn.
Exactly. So we go into the nomination, or before nomination, we get the conversation about Horacio again, about how Horacio doesn't really talk to anyone in the group. Mariah sort of essentially calls out that Horacio is being protected by Olivia and Nerys, whereas James isn't being protected by her, even though she wants him to be protected. And we get Olivia sort of being a little annoyed with Horacio for finding out that Horacio doesn't want to vote Zara in and wants to vote Berna in, because it similar to Olivia's main issue is she came to the season with a plan with these people and she was there to commit to that plan, and anytime anyone goes against that plan, it's like, well, why are we doing this then? I've been working my ass off to protect you, and then you can't even do what I need you to do. So I think her saying the whole oh, is he even really a friend? Really? It's just her being dramatic. They're friends. That's not the issue here. But people are online are taking this way out of context.
No, and I understand both sides because Olivia's frustrated that Horacio isn't necessarily doing what she wants to do, which someone who after last season you think, okay, would be her number one guy in the house.
Right.
But I also stand it from Horacio's point of view of being like, he's not as well insulated as Olivia. Now, a lot of that is his own fault. Is his own fault for how he plays the game and how he is socially. But also, I mean, we saw his name starting to come up 6-7 episodes ago. So really, what's the benefit of him just playing nice because he isn't as well insulated as Olivia? So he's eventually going to be cut, and that alliance is going to take shots at him, whether with her blessing or not. So I get why he's trying to make, his own separate alliance here. And so it's really like, I understand both sides. You're both kind of right. You're also both kind of wrong.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. That gets us to the nomination, where I love that Zara wants to be a warrior and try to intimidate people by going down, like proving herself, pulling a Jordan essentially of like, I'm just going to go down and I will win and I will come back and then I'll put all of you into elimination. But she does it to start off the conversation without actually letting anybody sort of show their hand at all.
I think it's just because she knew that's the way it was going. So like, hey, I'm just going to do it. Like, let's skip all the theatrics of this. But it's, I don't know, like going back to douchebag Asaf of just being like, well, you were going to get voted in regardless. So this isn't really a hero moment. It's like, shut the fuck up. You were going to have something negative to say about her regardless. Like if this is just what she wants to do because she knows it's inevitable, like whatever. It doesn't need to be a storyline.
He does really like to talk about a lot of these women negatively.
Well, I wonder how his mom feels about this.
What are you saying about his mom? What are you saying about his mom? His mom, Dan. What are you saying about his mom?
I'll actually say it because, Kylan didn't.
Okay. That's fair. Okay, that gets us to elimination. Laurel comes out. She calls out Purple Jacket.
I love that level of pettiness that she won't even say her name. Just, you know who I mean, TJ. Like
Purple Jacket. And I love Michelle also. We're going to be friends. Like, we have a lot of same friends. I think we could get along. I will make it up to you one day. I really think we will be good in the future. And Laurel's just like, stone face. Yeah. No. They're back in the ride or die deliberation room, just like, no, nothing. No. You're dead to me. Can all three of these say Michelle, TJ?
It just shows, like, I guess you can see why Laurel's so intimidating is not just the fact that she's this physical beast, but just the way that she carries herself. Because you did get that flashback from Ride or Dies where Michelle's kind of like talking or whatever, and Laurel's just like, is there a question there? Like, I don't get what you're saying. And it's just, she's intimidating. There's really no other way to put it.
Absolutely. So she pulls Raven to Michelle. I think Michelle probably had another exorcism.
100%.
Just like, just not seeing the mace come out for chaos. So it's chain reaction. It was a puzzle. You're pulling a bunch of chains that have a lot of different color combinations, 10 sequences on them. Once you pull it all the way, it will get you a lock that you can unlock a Matt Bischoff pegboard.
Ooh.
And then you had to insert 10 sequences worth of pegs into a bunch of holes and get it right, and you win.
It's a lot of
Raven
pegging.
wins. You can stay. Okay, back in our old thing of would Johnny Fairplay win this challenge? Would Matt Bischoff win this challenge? Or would he get distracted by how many pegs there were?
Oh, no, there's way too many pegs there. Matt can't stay focused with that. Like, you give him one or two, like, sure, he can be like, this is important. 100 pegs? Zero chance.
Zero chance. So, essentially, both are having mix-ups with their stuff. We find out that Raven's called Dory in the house because her memory's not great. And then we see some people starting to help Raven.
A little
But
at
we get-
first, and then more blatant.
But so we get Kylan trying to give her some tips, and we get an Ed confession like, "Ooh, I see who you're working with now, Kylan, trying to help Raven." I'm like, "Don't you want the money yet? Didn't you say you wanted to help buy a house for your girlfriend and her son?"
Shut up, Ed.
Mr. Playing It Safe. Don't you want to play safe and have more money?
Ed, I'm half convinced that Ed really doesn't. For such a smart guy, he just doesn't have a
He
voice.
just wants to play safe.
Like, Ed, we know you're smart. It's obvious that you are, but it's just like before he goes into a confessional, it's Michelle or Jay like give him a paper, be like, "Oh no, Ed, this is what you're supposed to say." He's like, "All right, sweet." Like, yeah.
But it was like the reason why I made that more of a note was just like what? Why do you have a problem with that when like immediately after that you have Kyland and Jay and like all the other people that are your core alliance helping her as well?
But even with that, be like, "Oh, Kylan, we know where you stand with it." Well, yeah, no shit. You guys just threw him into elimination last week.
And like Kylan was the only one who was actually giving like active good advice until the end, where like Michelle found like the missing thing and told Raven what to do. But like Kylan's like, just like calm down. Go. You already have a bunch in there. Read off your chain. We will look at your board and tell you if you're right.
Yeah, which suddenly now the house, all these rookies, they're okay with helping out in challenges or eliminations.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy to think about. But Laurel doesn't care.
No, Laurel doesn't care, and I think she has the right attitude. But I don't understand why. Like, do I love this? No, I don't. But last season there was such this outrage from the fandom, people being so pissed off of helping people eliminations. It's just like, where have you been? This has always happened on the show.
Well, I think a lot of those people aren't watching anymore, right? If the ratings say anything.
That's very true. But I was saying even the competitors, like I know Michelle and Jay were really upset about how their elimination went down. But it's just like, this has always happened. This isn't anything new.
It's one of those, it's a hypocrisy that everyone has. You hate it until it's something that it can benefit you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I think in Michelle's mind, she's like, if Raven says, well, one, like Laurel doesn't get what she wants. So that's one thing. Or Laurel really wanted you. She didn't want to eliminate Raven. So whatever. Laurel doesn't take money out of the pot. That's one. Two, Raven coming back with a vendetta, potentially with Michelle being like more honest than others about voting and whatnot, and she didn't have to say Raven's name. Like, maybe she's out of the fire line.
Line of fire, yeah.
Or the line of fire, yeah. Whatever. Even though, I don't know, we could see anything flip. Because going into next week, Raven wins. She's 2-0 in elimination now this season, 2-1 overall because we will never forget Shoegate.
And, to give, not necessarily Raven more credit, but it is the downside of Laurel is that when she thinks she's right, there is no pushing her off of that stage.
And when something goes wrong, like it was sort of thing that like she temporarily lost a peg because it's just like I remember the elimination she lost the Ninja where she just put the peg in the wrong thing. Which that challenge, I'm not letting us go into a rant about it, but that challenge should have been reset entirely.
100%.
But regardless, Laurel loses, but she loses like a champ because it's someone that she likes in Raven. Raven gets to stay. I think it's another big confidence boost, ego boost for Raven, like sort of realizing that she does have this potential in her as a competitor. Like, you shouldn't want to go down to elimination that much after this season, but like, you're proving to yourself that if something goes wrong, you go down there, you do have a chance to fight and get back.
Yep, 100%.
So both Raven and are safe. They will be back for the next week. They are number ones, and they're ready to shake up the board, which we're now seeing as these breakaways of the alliance that Jay's calling out of. Zara and Raven and Kyland and Horacio, potentially Colleen. James is out there, and they didn't say Mariah, but like with James out there, like now, like Mariah potentially has other commitments. These are all people that have been winning more of the dailies in some combination. of them. Whereas they have the numbers still, but if you're not winning, how good are your numbers?
I guess we'll find out.
Well, guess we'll find out, because next week we don't get to see who's actually walking into elimination, but we all know who it is. And it's a long-awaited return because a certain All-Stars 4 still hasn't aired yet.
Deleted
But
episodes.
I still fully believe once we get closer to this final that they're gonna announce the release date for All Stars will interline with the final.
I could see that.
It sort of goes hand in hand with that, because then they'll like show an episode of the final, then air the first episode on MTV, but also on Paramount Plus. But it will be the return of Cara Maria.
Can't wait. It's about time.
We haven't seen her in years. It's since War of the Worlds.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm
combining them,
encapsulating both of them. Yeah. We haven't seen her since the War of the Worlds era, and it will be very nice to see her come back. I don't care if she wins or loses. If it's going to be another fucking puzzle where everyone can help the person, then maybe she loses. Like, I take a lot of these losses for the mercenaries here, the champions here, as a little asterisk.
They don't really count.
They don't really have a motive outside of trying to win 10K.
Which they're already getting paid well to show up there, like as an appearance fee. So it's not like they're not getting 10K and it's like, oh, they came there for nothing. Like, no, I'm sure they still probably got paid just as much as most of these people are getting paid.
I think most of them got paid that much. Well, I think Brad got given a beard trimmer,
which he immediately threw in the trash.
But... yeah, because he didn't understand what it meant.
Yeah.
But that wraps up this week's episode. I'm liking to see that we are starting to see some conflict, some drama, potential for some turning. Will it actually amount to anything? We don't know. But we are here regardless to join the ride. But this will be our last podcast of 2023. And we'll see you all next year to cover episode 12 at some point.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's challenge never stops, just year after year, because it did have me thinking of when, we were talking about that tweet of, who Laurel beat in eliminations. Be like, it really would be fun if there ever was an off season, which clearly there isn't. So who knows if we'll ever get to it, but, to do off season coverage to be, like Alex and I's top 10 lists or most memorable moments and stuff that. Like, that would be a ton of fun to do. But if the challenge never stops, then we never have an opportunity to do that.
Well, the challenge never quits, and neither do we. We'll be back next week. Become a patron at realitypatron.com. Press the like button on this video if you're watching on YouTube. Give us 5 stars if you are listening to this on wherever you listen to us for your podcast. Subscribe to the channel. Do all those things. We appreciate all of you who took the time to listen today. We will be back next week. TBD on the day or time, since we'll be back in our regular working schedules, unfortunately. But have a great new year, everyone, and we'll see you all next time.
See y'all.